Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, just thank you very much. It's an absolute privilege to be here this afternoon to speak to everyone, and a special thank you to CII for their work in advocacy and coordination and championing such an important cause and issue, being sports and participation. Also, a very quick special thank you to our trade partner, the Victorian Government, and a special thanks to Abhishek for helping me get here. It's an absolute privilege to talk today, and I've also really enjoyed the last day and a half of speakers and guests sharing their thoughts and ideas about how to not only make India play, but maybe inspire children to want to play. I'll provide a very quick background in terms of who I am and where I fit in, and more importantly, the company that I represent. We will touch on a few of the, if you like, the large-scale mega trends or macro trends that are occurring across Australasia, and certainly some of those are stemming from North America. In particular, the implications around facility design and infrastructure and management of those assets, and perhaps also a few observations in my short time in relation to sport in India. So very quickly, I work within a group called the Belgravia Group, and we're a large diversified corporation, private company in Australia. We're based in Melbourne. We operate across Australia and New Zealand, and there's a number of companies in relation to manufacturing, technologies, insurance, finance and equities. But more importantly, the most important company of the lot is the Belgravia Leisure Division, which is the one I'm involved in. So we manage assets, we manage aquatic facilities, leisure facilities, sporting facilities, predominantly for government. We do work with state government, but mostly local governments, and it's a big part of what we do. A couple of little slides, just images of the sorts of facilities that are within our portfolio. Day spas are certainly a growing part of our business. This one's at a ski resort at Mount Hotham. We've signed a contract with an Indigenous Lands Trust in New Zealand at the beautiful Rotorua, where there's geothermal spa, a $32 million development, which is very exciting, another one in Lorne. But this is really our bread and butter. Fitness facilities, sporting stadiums and aquatic centres, golf courses. This is the one in Perth, Point Walter, which we manage, again on behalf of government. Belmont and Watermark. This is probably a good example of one facility that we manage within our group that has over 1 million visits per annum. And those visits aren't through events, they're through daily activities where children in particular, and mum and dad and the whole family are coming along to participate in swimming or fitness or sporting programs. We also have a real interest in naming our facilities after athletes that have done well, and we manage all of the City of Sydney facilities. This one's called Ian Thorpe, who's our most successful Olympian. Again, a very impressive facility in its own right, which we've been, again, managing for about 5 years now. And this is another facility we manage in southeast or Greater Western Sydney, again on behalf of council. And apparently this guy used to play a bit of cricket in his time, but Michael has been very, very helpful in not only promoting the facility, but also activating the community and encouraging young people to participate in sports, not just cricket. We've also been involved in helping the Crown Prince establish the Al Fassan International Sports Resort in Abu Dhabi, an enormous and incredibly exciting facility. And also of interest is our chairman, was the founding chairman and owner of Melbourne Victory, which was, and it still is, probably the most successful football team in the A-League in Australia. Very quickly, and I'll move on from our role in managing these facilities, but we do operate under a number of different models. And I've heard the term PPP quite a bit. We used to refer to it as a boot scheme, which is build, own, operate and transfer, very much the same as a public-private partnership. And we do manage those facilities, but more and more of our work is coming about through forming a partnership in working with either the owner of the asset or, again, government, and ensuring that we can optimise the facilities in terms of efficiency and programming expertise. We often use the expression, we'll cut the cloth to fit the suit, so we can design our management model around what the client needs. So really quickly, in relation to some of the, if you like, trends that are emerging across, again, Southeast Asia, certainly across North America, which we're often good at tapping into. In no particular order, but just really quickly at a high level, we are finding that time is precious. We're all short on time, we're working longer hours, leisure time is harder to come by, but we're still willing to commit and enjoy the benefits of sport or joining a gym, and we understand the importance of health. But we'll do it in our own time. We'll do it in a way that suits us, suits our schedule, and it might involve engaging a personal trainer or a small group training model, which, yes, will generally generate a greater cost, but people are willing to buy. They buy on value, they don't buy on price. We're finding this to be a significant trend that we're really able to tap into because it enables us to generate a greater yield for every customer coming through one of our venues. But sport is becoming a lot less organised. It absolutely needs to be organised at the senior levels and the federal and national peak sporting organisations. But locally, what we're seeing is people are more inclined to want to do swimming during the summer, basketball during the winter, and maybe tag rugby on the weekend, and perhaps riding a bike with their family. So it's becoming a lot less structured and less inclined to sign up and stay enrolled in a particular sport for their entire career. They're picking and choosing, and it's very casualised, and of course it's modified. That would be the key point that I'd really want to hit home, is that particularly to inspire a young person, a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, if I look at the ring behind me, how many 6-year-olds can shoot a basketball in a 10-foot ring? We've got to reduce the level of, we've got to reduce the ring and bring it down so that they can succeed. Success breeds success. Extreme to mainstream. This is really interesting. We're now seeing BMX bike riding as an Olympic sport. It's coming. We're seeing things like indoor trampoline parks. Bounce is an Australian brand that has entered the Southeastern Asia market, and no doubt they're on their way to India. And whilst it may not be seen as a traditional sport as such, nothing better than seeing hundreds of kids jumping and running and bouncing and sweating and smiling for an hour. Physical exercise, physical activity, and if it introduces them to a sport such as trampolining or gymnastics, even better. On the 9th of July, which I think is Sunday, Australia Ninja Warrior is on its way. We just launched that in Australia. We're now selling franchises for ninja parks, indoor ninja parks. Again, a little bit extreme, but becoming mainstream. Indoor bouldering and esports. Has anyone heard of esports? Yeah. So again, is it a sport? Well, probably not for the purists, but what we do know is that these athletes, the people that are sitting up on stage and gaming, playing video games in front of 40,000 people, are some of the highest paid athletes going around. It's a $1 billion industry, and it's had 40% year-on-year growth across Southeast Asia. It is coming. In Australia, we've got AFL teams that are buying up franchises to use that as a way of building their member data and a base of fans. More than sport, I love this one, and I know I'm preaching to the converted. I don't have to say anything more on this other than more and more we're finding, government in particular, and the broader community are aware of the benefits that sport has outside of the traditional aspects of playing a sport. Having worked for government, I know that we were always asking the employees to don't tell us, show us. It's got to be evidence-based. So the research that's being done to identify things like for every $1 that we spend in preventative health will save us $7 within the healthcare system is a very, very powerful way of getting everyone aligned, including government and funding. Everybody's game. It's a broad spectrum, and I'm really pleased to see the attention and the focus on women's sport later this afternoon. Interestingly, the largest growing demographic within India is the over 65s. What are we doing about older adults and their interest in maybe even starting a sport in a later stage of their life? We're aware of the work that's being done within Paralympics, and in Australia the work that needs to be done in around the Indigenous situation is again a really important one for us. Whilst it's only 2.5% of the population, within our rugby leagues there's about 15% of the population that are Indigenous Australians playing rugby. So sport is a tremendous bridger. And again, the earlier session along with this one is very much geared around business. Sport is a big business. We see lots of examples. I think the Dehli group in China just bought the World Triathlon brand, Ironman brand, for 600 million. In Australia, the AFL have just sold the broadcasting rights for that crazy game called Australian Rules Football. It's a bit like a cup of tea with a ball on a big cricket field. But they've just sold the broadcasting rights for $2.5 billion. So it's big business. The question would be, where is that money going? Yes, the athletes typically would want an extra, a little bit of pay, but what are we doing to feed that money back into the grassroots program? How do we build the base of the pyramid and retain them, hopefully to get the pyramid to become a column? Gambling in Australia, unfortunately, is a bit of a scourge. We have the highest rate of gambling per capita in the world, and that's very much around sports, the good with the bad. But it is very much a career path that many, many people can take, and I encourage all of India to continue to aspire to want a career and a successful pathway in the area of sports and participation. Really quickly, I'll whip through these. This is, if you like, we refer to it as our secret sauce. How do we go about managing our facilities to ensure we get maximum return and maximum participation? We are a people organisation, a service industry, and at the end of the day, we rely on our personnel. We invest heavily in our employees. We allocate 2% of our entire payroll to learning and development, where they have discretion over how they spend that money. We have leadership colleges. We have certificate courses that all of our managers must complete before they manage a facility or within 3 months of being appointed. And most importantly, we employ on attitude. They've got to be passionate about whatever they're applying for. If it's a coaching role, great. If it's an administration role, that's okay as well. Maybe it's a cleaning or maintenance, whatever the role, whatever the duties are, they've got to be passionate about the work that we're doing. And if they don't have the qualifications, we'll take care of that later. We can upskill them quite easily. The programs for us is really the heart and soul of how we generate revenue to offset the expenses. We do use the term customer centricity, which is suggesting that the customer is at the centre of everything that we do. So if we design a program, the customer, yes, it might be a child enrolled in a basketball program or a gymnastics program, but we also need to think about the needs of the parent, because in a lot of cases, they're in the position of making decisions. We use things like apps to allow the parents to stay engaged, to make payments, to find out information, to motivate them, to encourage them, to reward them. These are all simple technologies that are available out there today, and in most cases are free. A little bit of work in configuring them with your systems, but they're very much available. Profile. We have one task around the profile, and that is to generate leads to convert to sales. We do use some of the traditional techniques, such as brochures and pamphlets and the like. In fact, that's Brooke Hansen, who's a gold medal Olympian, who is our ambassador for swimming and water safety. But we also rely very heavily on our digital technologies. So in terms of e-commerce and e-marketing, about 80% of our spend is focused in and around the digital space. A big shift from where it has been in the past. We now use things like geo-targeting, that our marketing department would say, perhaps look at targeting females from 34 to 44 that live in a particular area that might be interested in swimming, for example. That level of data that we have is now being captured, and to use that and convert that for a financial return is quite exciting. But as the CEO of the company, this is the bit that gets me most excited around our processes. This is a dashboard, a snapshot or an image of our desktop that our managers have, and it has all of the KPIs that those centre managers are measured on. The non-financial measures are equally important. Yes, financial data speaks volumes, but we also want to make sure we're delivering a quality service. Every day, 2% of our member data is automatically emailed, and we ask them one question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you be to refer this service to a friend or family? Now, that's a fairly common system. It's called Net Promoter Score, and many hotels use it. It should be integrated into part and parcel of how we do business within a sporting context. All of those various non-financial measures are very, very important, and for me, being able to get a visual, immediate, drill-down desktop view is critically important to ensure our success. The financial ones, I'll just give this as a quick example, but this would be, for example, a Learn to Swim program. This facility, we would expect the benchmark to have 2,500 children enrolled in a Learn to Swim program. So that's at one venue. We're measuring them each month and calculating what is the yield per customer per session, and in this case the benchmark is $19. We measure occupancy rate, wage ratio, and as you can see, a number of different indicators that really tell us a lot about how well is that program being managed. Efficiencies and effectiveness of delivering great customer service. These things have got to be built in as part and parcel of how we manage sporting and leisure facilities. The last one is the obvious one. We can't do it without partners. The level of cooperation that has to exist across an entire country in relation to national sporting organisations, NGOs, government, corporates, but more importantly the community, I think is essential. The strength of our success, if you like, over the last 30 years is building on existing relationships to nurture future opportunities. It's not about just tendering or looking for new business. It's about making sure that the existing relationships we have are very sound and strong. So you can see our 5 Ps, sitting in within our strategic priorities. We have a view that says energy goes where the focus is. We focus on those Ps, and that's where the energy goes. We operate across those core areas, and our clear values are really, really important, and again, embedded in everything that we do. So perhaps a final comment, if you like, or a closing observation, and I really enjoyed, the gentleman from West Bengal earlier on that highlighted some of the, if you like, the disappointing aspects of legacy buildings that haven't quite yet reached their potential. Having spent a bit of time in Mumbai and Delhi and Dehradun, and I suppose we could say that we don't have enough sporting facilities in India, or we could say we're not making the most of those existing facilities and the existing infrastructure, and we should be capitalising on those. Rip down the walls, take off the chains, open up the space, let's encourage people to play. And the final point that I would make is the other point from yesterday's discussion. Understanding the need for government, the education system, building it into the curriculum, critical. Parental involvement, yes. We now know that the synergies between academic results and sporting results are there. It's evidence-based, that's a given. But what I would also argue is that we should be making the most of those opportunities and engaging the parents so that they not only approve of sport, but they're directly involved in sport. My quick example was when my 6-year-old child enrolled in Auskick, modified sport, all about participation. We pay our money, it's a 10-week program. He gets his little ball and he gets his drink bottle, and how happy is he? And guess what I get? I get a whistle and a hat that says coach. It says, welcome, you're now a coach. The expectation, certainly in Australia, is that all parents are actively involved in every aspect of their children's sport, whether it be in a direct coaching capacity or in administering the club. And really that's the heart and soul of sports across Australia is the base of volunteerism. So I think it's going beyond getting parental approval, but activating their passion and their love for sport. And I'm sure that, as we've said a few times before, India is on the cusp of something very, very special. And I can't wait to see the results. Good luck.